Keshav sir, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, fine, sir. How about you?
Very well.
Yeah.
This is Professor Martin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you once again.
Very nice.
Yeah, good, sir. We'll start by 10 o'clock once every
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I just wanted to make sure that my location is all right, and then I can relax for a few minutes.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'll come back. I'll join.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
When digital transformation is done right, it is like a caterpillar turning into butterfly. But when done wrong, all you have is a really fast caterpillar. Good morning to one and all present here. The MAHRM department has organized Tanthra. Tanthra, an acronym for Training Association and Network Towards Human Resources Advancement, is a widely acclaimed event which enables us to bring our apprehension, our skills in event management, resource mobilization, and accountability. Tanthra is a nationwide HR conference conducted by the PG Department of MAHRM of DG Vaishnav College. Our forum invites eminent and experienced professionals from innumerable HR fields to discuss, analyze, and debate on the current trend and practices. The conclave also inaugurates the placement brochure for the respective graduating students of PG Department of Human Resource. It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming the panelists, principal, HOD, faculties, HR delegates, and all the students to the occasion. I, Ashwin and Pathvi of second year MAHRM, during the next couple of hours will take you through the conference. To sing is to pray twice, said by Saint Augustine. Let us now invoke the blessing of the Lord. The invocation will be rendered by Pooja Narayan of first year MAHRM.
Shri Saraswati Namostute Varade Shri Saraswati Namostute Paradevate Shripati Gauri Ati Guru Guhavinute Shri Saraswati Namostute वासनात्रय विवर्जित वरमुनि भावित मूर्ते वासवाद्य किल निर्जन वर वितरण बहु युध मुकाम्बुरुहे अद्भुत चरणाम्बुरुहे संसार विद्या बहे सबल मंत्राक्षर गुहे श्री सरस्वती नमोस्तुते
Thank you, Pooja. Moving on to the next segment. Our department is headed by Dr. N.C. Martin. He has academic and administrative experience over 20 years. He has held various positions in his official capacity registrar in various arts and science and engineering colleges. Let us welcome the pillar of HRM department, Dr. N.C. Martin, to address the gathering.
Very pleasant morning to one and all. It's my pleasure and I'm very privileged to welcome our secretary, Sri Ashok Kumar Mundraji, in his absentia, and our beloved principal, Captain Dr. Santosh Babu, the former registrar of Monomunium Sundaranar University. I would also welcome our beloved Mr. Keshav, founder CEO at Mantra, who has been associated with our department for organizing various events and webinars. We welcome you, sir, I would also welcome our high-powered panelist, Mr. Surya Prakash, Global Head Talent Transformation and L&D at Wipro, and our another panelist, Mrs. Suma Rao, CEO at PeopleCraft. We welcome you, ma'am. And our final esteemed panelist, Mr. Milind Kher, CEO at Hospitality Quorum. We welcome you, sir. I'm also very happy to welcome all HR fraternity, dear professors, students.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, you're on mute, sir. Kindly unmute yourself.
So I would also welcome Mr. Keshav, the founder CEO at Mantra, who has been associated with our department for organizing various events and webinars. I also would welcome our esteemed panelist, Mr. Surya Prakash, Global Head Talent Transformation and L&D at Wipro. Our panelist, Mrs. Suma Rao, CEO at PeopleCraft. We welcome you, ma'am. And our final esteemed panelist, Mr. Milind Kher, CEO at Hospitality Quorum. We welcome you, sir. I'm also very happy to welcome all HR fraternity, dear colleague professors and students for this HR National Conference. I, on behalf of our management, the colleague professors and students of HRM, wholeheartedly express gratitude to all the esteemed speakers for having accepted our invitation within a short notice period. The event Tanthra is a flagship event for the graduating batch of HRM in joint collaboration with L&D Global Knowledge Partner. This event is conducted annually and it serves as a platform for deliberation of various trends in HRM. The theme of today's event is on digital vicinity. Back to the future is indeed very important topic of the day to be considered for debate and discussions in taking the current scenario. I won't take much time, just a few words on the theme of the topic. We know our country is rapidly developing in a digital arena. The consumers in the country have a strongly embraced digital technologies. So we can say that in our country, we have more than 500 million internet subscribers, and which is considered as one of the largest and fastest growing markets for digital consumers and technology. This has a great impact and has rapidly changed nearly every sectors of the Indian economy, and is likely to create a significant economic value and change the nature of work for the millions of Indians. So it is expected that there will be a rapid spread of digital technologies and their potential value to the Indian economy by the year 2025, if the government and the private sector come together and contribute to a lot to create a new digital ecosystem. So by various measures taken by the government, so we are progressing well to become a digital advanced country due to a falling cost and rising availability of smartphones and high-speed internet connectivity. So I have come across in a report, and the statistics says that so our country has 560 million internet subscribers in the year 2018. That is second to China, and the digital services are growing in parallel. So Indians download more apps, that is 12.3 billion in 2018 than any other country except China, and the Indians spend more time on social media. So it is reported that an average of 17 hours a week where Indian consumers spend on social media users, which is quite large number than compared to users in China and the United States. So the share of the Indian adult with at least one digital financial account has more than doubled since 2011 to 80% as of now. We can say that, so we are home to one of the world's largest and fastest growing bases of digital consumers, and is digitizing faster than many mature and emerging economies. To conclude, I want to remind you with a quote of Simeon Preston: the biggest part of a digital transformation is changing the way we think. With this note, I thank and welcome all the participants to grace this occasion and benefit from this National HR Conference. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Once you stop learning, you start dying. Albert Einstein. The PG department of HRM has adapted to its new digital transformation by educating through ICT, international and national webinar series, online professional networking, virtual workshop, and guest lecture. Now, let us go through some of the exemplary work of our department.
Welcoming guests have been lingering in our tradition over ages. Educational institutions are no exception to that practice, especially our Department of HRM. We invite industry professionals to discuss on the ground realities that have an impact on the workplace from people's perspective. We always get amazed by the interpretations and inferences when we interact with HR professionals. Guest lectures are aimed to provide us with a knowledge about HR practices, initiatives, and real-time case studies, and it encourages us to come up with creative solutions. It helps us to stand out with current updates in the market.
It is only when we step out of classroom, we learn beyond books, boards, and presentations. We were privileged with one such opportunity through HRD Urban Outreach Program. We teach with Dasas High School in Tirunendravoor organized various events that were aimed towards the holistic development of school children. As we worked on HRD Urban Outreach, we got to know the significance of community development and the initiatives, intentions, and goals. We strongly consider this activity as a generic foundation for corporate social responsibility.
In order to equip ourselves to the company culture and get a glimpse of what we will be doing in the future as HR professionals, we are provided with the opportunity of internship. This on-the-job training helps us to understand and merge with the reality of future. Out of 3 internships, we got an opportunity to attend service and manufacturing sector internships in person. Well-known organizations like TVS Lucas, ITC Grand Chola, Virtusa, Samsung, Carrietry, and so on to gain real-time experience.
Having built network and rapport over the years with professional HR bodies like NAPM, NHRD, and ISTD, we have learned the act of organizing specialized and need-based programs by establishing an HRD student cell within our department. This forum offers us the exposure to industrial practices within our classroom atmosphere. Through this, we cover trending topics being emerged among the HR fraternity.
We all love to travel. That is where we explore various opportunities that are available out there during the course of journey. But for a change, our destinations are companies, factories, and organizations where human capital is put to maximum utilization. Yes, we are talking about the industrial visits which are offered to us as a part of our curriculum, where we directly witness how workplaces are organized, how tasks are accomplished effectively, and scope for further development.
What we seek can be found beyond borders. The Department of Human Resource Management has a clear understanding of seeking knowledge by crossing borders. As a part of the curriculum, an international study tour is offered to us for exploring the various dimensions and perspectives of our syllabus. In order to give us a glimpse of the global HR practices, we were escorted to Singapore, where we visited several institutions and organizations like TCS, K7 Constructions, TEG University, and PSP Academy.
Here comes the pinnacle of our course, Tanthra, a national-wide HR conference organized and flawlessly executed every year by our department. Tanthra, an acronym for Training, Association and Network Towards Human Resource Advancement, is a widely acclaimed event which enables us to bring to our apprehension our skills in event management, resource mobilization and accountability. The theme for this event changes every year according to the legacy of its grandiloquence with the theme Digital Vicinity. Back to the future.
Leaders are not born, they are made. And for the making, we embark on a journey that transforms us to be better leaders in this complex world. It's not about how many people we influence and control, rather, it's a lifestyle that makes the workplace highly competitive and fun to be on. To embrace such lifestyle gracefully, we are provided with an opportunity to undergo leadership development training programs as a part of our syllabus. Why shoot for the stars and aim for the moon when we have the entire universe to explore?
Who doesn't love add-ons or extras?
Apart from the knowledge that we gain in class, our department reaches out to trainers for conducting various workshops and certification programs, which prepares us to approach workplace scenarios methodically. Trainers pose us certain situations which helps us overcome emotions and pressure arising out of it, and also to take decisions rationally. Through these certification programs, we are trained to practice neuro-linguistic programming techniques and Lean Six Sigma approach in our future professional environment.
The pandemic has opened a multitude of knowledge transfer session scope for our batch. Our department of HRM excels in turning unfortunate times into fortunate opportunities. One such evident activity is introduction of webinars during lockdown. Weekly webinar is an online session for which renowned HR professionals are invited to discuss current topics in the industry with us. It is an excellent system for all of us to practice virtual networking and has also given us the edge of engaging global HR leaders with their lot.
From Bill Gates to Brian Chesky, the only platform which connects all generations together is social media. That's exactly why our Department of Human Resource Management has extended its arm in carving its own identity as HR Sagacious across all social media platforms. HR Sagacious social media pages and YouTube channel is completely handled by our students, where we update all our academic activities conducted, such as webinars, workshops, panel discussions, and the like. Well, now you know where to find us.
Academics to industry transition happens very smoothly at the Department of Human Resource Management. We are given the liberty to attend the interviews of the organizations that we aspire through our extensive placement program. It covers various sectors and acclaimed organizations where we can showcase the knowledge and skills that we gain throughout our course. Placements have been conducted successfully by our department since its installation by involving student coordinators who put in meticulous work with the right assistance from our professors and the head of the department. Our students have been placed in various renowned organizations such as Ramco Cements, TCS, TVS, Byju's, WNS, etc. The ultimate aim of our placement program is to ensure that we get the best employment opportunity and to lead us to an optimal career path.
Moving on to the placement brochure release ceremony. A word is a word, a picture is worth 1,000, but a brand is worth 1,000,000, said by Zappos. In the presence of our esteemed panelists and HR delegates, we are happy to release our placement brochure. The placement brochure consists of voices of eminent people of our college and the profiles of aspiring HR professionals. We request our beloved principal, Captain Dr. Santosh Babu, to release the placement brochure and to address the gathering.
Very happy to release this placement brochure today. Good morning, one and all present for this today's Tanthra's 2021 program. I am very happy to be part of releasing this placement brochure for MA HRM department, where the head of the department, Martin, is and his team is working hard to make the students to industry fit. And according to Industry 4.0, our students are made ready. For today's program, we have experts from outside, Mr. Keshav M, founder CEO of Mantra, Mr. Surya Prakash, Global Head Talent Information and L&D at Wipro, Mrs. Suma Rao, CEO The People Craft, Mr. Mlain Keher, CEO Hospitality Forum. I like to thank for the panel members to be part of today's Tanthra's 2021 program. As far as MA HRM is concerned, we have students from various departments joining MA HRM. After that, the department is having a well-defined program content for the students, in which they have been trained in doing social service activities to handle the people, team as a team manager. With this all training, they have been Now they are in the second year of the MA HRM program. During the program, the students have done lot of industrial visit, field work, and they have molded according to the industry standard of 4.0. In the present scenario, you know that the management policy is planning, organizing, directing, staffing, but only these things are not enough. Each and every student should have an innovative thinking and creativity. In all management and HR programs, this innovative thinking and creativity and also the more invited talks have been organized by the department for the development of the students. So definitely this Tanthra will create a very good rapport for the students, and this program will be the bridge between the student and the industry. I understand that the student of MA HRM have been placed in many institutions. We have a very strong alumni for MA HRM, so that alumni are helping us in the recruitment process also. So with these few words, once again I like to congratulate the head of the department and the team. Tanthra may be the continuous process for the department, but as far as second year MA HRM students is concerned, it is a unique one. It's the first one for them. They have shown very keen interest in designing the invitation and also the placement brochure, where the placement brochure consists of the details of each and every students and their certification and achievements, which helps the industry to select a best student out of them. So we are expecting a package of minimum 10 lakhs from each industries for our students. Accordingly, our students have been trained. Once again, I thank the organizer for giving the opportunity for this Tanthra 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request the Tanthra coordinator, Vishnu, to reveal the Tanthra theme 2021.
The term digital is not a recent visitor in any field of profession. Whether we have accepted and got adapted to it, it's completely a lingering question. You may ask why. Let me answer it through my perception. It's because the recent transition was thrown towards us without any prior intimation or forewarning. With being locked inside a single infrastructure where we all love to spend time, HR is being pushed to take a larger role in helping organizations to be digital, not just do digital. As the process gradually started with digital transformation in HR, its contagiousness rapidly engulfed every single department in the form of digital workspace. As HR leaders, we are obliged to explore new technologies, platforms, ways of working, and techniques of engagement. Once viewed as a support function that delivered employee service, HR is now being asked to help lead the digital transformation by keeping the priorities of people as a prime motive. Let's all shift towards the theme for today's event, which is Digital Vicinity, Back to the Future. This year has made the corporate world to believe that the shift towards digitization and automation can be possible within the blink of an eye. Working towards sculpting a better or probably the best future which befits our digital vicinity would be an admirable progress. Starting from our action plans, policies, programs, and practices, every decision taken now must be with the consideration of a radiant future. Let's hop in to the train towards future without touching the tracks and missing our paths.
Thank you, Vishnu. Let's move on to the most awaited session of the day. We are delighted to have our eminent panelists here with us today. Now, I request Rajesh, Hema, Varshini Raman, and Suridhi to introduce Mr. Keshav, Mr. Surya Prakash, Mr. Milind Kher, and Ms. Suma Rao, respectively.
Mr. M. Keshav has completed his graduation in chemistry and went on to complete his post-graduation in journalism. He is the founder and CEO of Mantra, Management Training Research Associates in Chennai for more than 2 decades. He has been a television anchor on many shows, which included the Quiz Olympiad on Amrita channel in 2005. He has been inspired by Swami Chinmayananda from childhood and has worked with corporations like Hewlett-Packard, Bharat Petroleum, TAFE, and ICICI Bank. He has also worked in famous NGO organizations like Care India and Aga Khan Charitable Trust in India. He is an active Rotarian and was awarded the Outstanding Young Person by International Union Chamber JE. Mr. Keshav has also specialized in topics related to communication, interpersonal skills, attitude management, assertiveness, organizational behavior study, speaking skills, effective presentation, and ego management by introspection. We welcome you, sir, and we are excited to have you as a moderator for this session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Surya Prakash Mohapatra, currently the Global Head, Talent Transformation at Wipro Digital Operations and Platform, has 23 plus years of experience in various leadership roles in several leading IT and ITS organizations. He has extensive experience in setting up learning and development functions for organizations in India and international locations. He has set up the global training functions for Wipro BPS, which spanned across 10 locations in Brazil, Mexico, Romania, Poland, China, India, etc. He is a leadership development trainer. He speaks regularly in various national and international forums on the topic related to HR, learning and development, corporate culture, and spirituality. His articles have been published in various journals and magazines in India and abroad. He is in the editorial board of Ikshara, a quarterly e-magazine for HR and L&D practitioners. World HRD Congress has recognized Mr. Surya Prakash as one of the 25 topmost talented training and development leaders in the world. Moreover, Global Knowledge Management Congress has conferred the Knowledge Management Leadership Award to him. Popular HR journal Human Factor featured him in their 2016 listing of Best HR Heads in India. It's a great honor to welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Milind Kher started his career with Camlin Limited in 1986 and established the pharmaceutical division in Mumbai. He worked with ITC from 1987 till 2004 as Circle Manager, Area Manager Tobacco Marketing, and Area Manager Foods Mumbai branch. Mr. Milind Kher set up social media marketing in North India and also established a network of 50 dealers. He introduced the concepts of rural redistribution depots, trade marketing systems for people development, and he brought the learning and development angle to the concept of trade marketing in the territory. He was a prime mover in the cascading of the International Competitive Edge series in the division. Mr. Milind Kher played an important role in establishing foods in key cities in the Western region and was a part of the thrust to make Ashirvad the #1 staple in India. Mr. Milind Kher worked from July 2004 to October 2011 in Tara as head buying operations and then GM HR retail division. He handled end-to-end recruitment and training for retail staff. Mr. Milind Kher was head HR and marketing at Vidya Lankar from November 2011 to April 2014. Mr. Milind Kher is currently the CEO of HQ and is responsible for all program design, corporate communication, and strategic planning. He has acquired a series of certifications such as Extended DISC, Emotional Intelligence, Neuro-linguistic Programming, ICF Life Coaching, etc. We are extremely happy to have you here, sir.
Ms. Suma Rao has more than 25 years of experience working for various MNCs. She has been involved in various capacities, handling activities like training, outbound experiential learning facilitation, recruitment, customer support, sales, and marketing. Although Ms. Rao studied to be a psychotherapist, she found her calling in training and facilitation. Always keen to enhance her knowledge and skills, Ms. Rao has secured various certifications as behavioral trainer from Oscar Murphy International Singapore, a soft skills and process trainer meant for BPOs from SDI UK, and so on. She has immense experience in organizing enriching workshops and events. She's very intuitive and able to mold the training module as per the participants so as to enable best results. She wears multiple hats as CEO in her entrepreneurial venture, People Craft, and Senior Vice President at Stanley David and Associates, Bangalore. She's also involved in counseling for individuals and offering wide range of training programs. She's also a mentor associated with Sherry Blair Foundation for Women, an international organization started by the former First Lady of UK. Ms. Rao is a member of TEDx Hyderabad organizing team and director of the L&D Global Hyderabad chapter. Her work has been published in the Los Angeles Tribune. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, students, for introducing the speakers. Now, I hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. Keshav. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I had to come up with some gimmicks, right, to highlight the topic. So I started by wearing my most necessary accessory of the day, the mask. So thank you, Professor Martin, Dr. Santosh Babu, Shri Mundraji, who's not there, I know, and all the staff, faculty of D.G. Vaishnav College. Of course, I'm very grateful to all the HR professionals who have found time for this morning to spend some time with us on this panel discussion. But I am more delighted that I have three more eminent panelists from my own team at L&D Global. We are really grateful that we are called the knowledge partners for this event, because the founder of L&D Global, Dr. Surya Prakash, not doctor, but Surya Prakash Mahapatra is here, my good friend, whom I met when he was at Hewlett Packard and I was doing some work for them. And of course, he's the global founder, and he'll tell you a little bit more about his experiences pertaining to this topic. But before I get into it, I want to thank you all, most of all the young students who have organized this event. I think it's a wonderful way to learn management skills when you're leaving the campus. I think this is perhaps the best way that you could have showcased your own skills and the organization and the campus to industry. But I've been a part of this event for many years, as has already been revealed. And even the name Tanthra, because my company is called Mantra, even when we were working on the acronym, I was privy to that discussion so many years ago, more than 2 decades that we have been associated. Yes, I seem to have competition. Okay, so yes, so I have been part of Tantra in that sense, but this year it's very, very special. And I want to thank Professor Martin for thinking of us and giving us this opportunity to partner you on what is a very, very important aspect of change in the world. I know Surya, Milind, and Suma, who are part of the panel here today. Milind actually headed the founding of L&D Global in Mumbai, the Mumbai chapter. Suma still takes care of Hyderabad. I still take care of Chennai chapter, though I think I'm long overdue to retire from the post and prepare new leadership. We have a very strong leadership, incidentally, jokes apart, in every one of these chapters. So we are very grateful that the pandemic has been kind to our industry in that sense, that there has not been much loss in terms of violent upheavals of the humankind. And I'm not talking only with the industry or our particular roles in organization. I'm talking about society in general. It just reinforces the faith that we have in the scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita, right, which says, Nimitta Matram Bhava. We are all just instruments in a cosmic play. And I think that is today very true, that we are playing a role here. Now, here is Milind, who's got extensive experience in the retail marketing field. Suma, who's worked with the Queen of England, no less. But I mean, what I mean is the diverse experiences that we have here. Surya, who's always been a very strong corporate backbone HR person. And I have been able to, being a journalist, I've been able to make a relatively easy entry into the world of HR. And we have done between us a lot of work. So I think for the students who are listening today, congratulations, all of you, for having survived 2020 as not just a 3-hour cricket match, but it was a year that meant a lot more, right? And I think we're going into 2021 with a sense of purpose. And it is a very, very strong entry today. So I don't want to go into too much of detail or take too much time. I want you to exploit the experiences of our panel as much as we can in the next 40 minutes or 45 minutes. So first of all, I would congratulate you for choosing the word digital vicinity. I know youngsters, who are behind this at Vaishnav have done a very clever job of highlighting, if you've seen the logo, DG and VC. So that makes it your college name. Good effort at branding. Right? DG Vaishnav College, you got that in. Digital vicinity, we wondered what that meant when we heard it, and then we realized it could mean many things. It could mean how close the world has become because of digital, interaction. I think we proved it in the pandemic. A lot of travel agencies and hotels have closed down. God bless them. They have to find their own new markets. They have to reskill themselves. But in the bargain, a lot of young people are in the IT world creating new virtual worlds for people almost on a daily basis. Zoom was a word that we never associated with webinars. And here we are every day. It's become like Wix Vaporub. It's become a brand name by itself. People don't even talk about webinars. They say Zoom. We're going on Zoom. We'll have a Zoom meeting. So Zoom has become a brand by itself and also a generic name. So this is a huge change. Nobody even expected such a change to happen. So I think today we'll go with one of my favorite concepts at Mantra, my company, for organizational behavior. We have a model called SEA, 3 qualities required for professional excellence. S is for self-awareness, E is for enthusiasm, A is for assertiveness. We believe that New India is about all 3. And in self-awareness, we came up with this concept. So what is self-awareness? We can go into the philosophical meaning and all that, but really it is about doing a SWOT analysis on yourself. How good are you, right? What are your strengths? And then we replace the word weakness with limitation. What are your limitations? And we made it a SLOT analysis. What are your opportunities and what are your threats? So I'm going to ask my panel in their opening remarks to look at the lockdown, the pandemic, and the digital surge in the world through the lens of the SLOT analysis. What are the strengths of this change that we are encountering? What are the limitations that we foresee? What are not the opportunities, because we should end on a positive note. So first look at the threats that are coming up because of this change. And last of all, let's end on a happy note, right? And they all lived happily after by looking at the opportunities that we have because of this change. So I'm going to first ask Surya and then Suma and then Milind to share a few thoughts on if they can do a quick run through of their experience. That itself would be like the filling in the sandwich, in the club sandwich that we're giving of learning and development. It's up to you to put the bread on top and at the bottom with a few remarks on other experiences that you have. So I'm going to just open up by asking Surya, my dear friend in learning and development and a guru for many people. Obviously, it's not easy to be awarded by a global forum as the knowledge management leader. So I consider him one of the deepest thinkers in our industry. And it's a pleasure and an absolute privilege for the youngsters today that all these three friends of mine were able to accept the invitation. They were gracious enough, but they also had the facilities to accept the invitation and be with us this morning. So thanks to you, my dear friends. And of course, Surya, first up, how do you look at the strengths, the limitations, the threats, and the opportunities of what we call the digital revolution caused by the pandemic? All yours, Surya.
Can you hear me, Keshav? And,
yes. Fine.
All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all my co-panelists and the esteemed professors and the management committee members of DZ Vaishnav and the dear students. I think it's a great privilege to be here as part of this event called Tanthra. This is a very powerful concept. And Keshav has beautifully set the context. Thank you, Keshav, for doing that powerfully. I'm really inspired by a couple of things that you said. I'll make a mention of that in a while. But opening the discussion about the lockdown and the strengths, limitations, and threats, and also the opportunities. I think the theme of this conference is digital vicinity. So the biggest change that we are seeing today is our closeness to the digital world. The world that we live today is being described today as phygital. It's a new concept which is emerging, which is the physical world and the digital world. These two worlds are blending. But I feel somewhere the biological world is also blending with that. And all these lines are actually getting blurred. It's very difficult to distinguish between the three. Today we all are talking to each other using a digital platform. But this digital platform has been able to bring us together, the same energies, the same enthusiasm, the same, the positive vibes. You can still feel, what you miss is the opportunity to, I definitely miss the opportunity to hug Keshav. I can't do that, but I can still see the smile on his face, and then, the emotional connect is still there. So I think this talks about the opportunities that we have today. This also talks about the strength of this world, the phygital world that we are in. I think the biggest strength is technology, the innovation, the creativity that we get to see today. And the most important strength that has come to the fore is the human resilience. The human beings were stretched to the maximum. Their ability, the capability to cope with the situation, the extreme challenges of the situation posed by COVID-19, the lockdown, all these were tested. And if there is one winner at the end of this, is the human resilience. I think that's our biggest strength. And we have seen that across. People have not given up. They have adapted, they have negotiated, they have stood up. Some of them have been completely probably knocked down, but they have refused to kind of give up, and they have stood up again. So these are our strengths. When we talk about our limitations, unfortunately, while technology our biggest strength, it really doesn't apply everywhere. So there are industries, there are organizations which really cannot bank on the digital world completely. I was talking to an HR leader of an airline company, and the leader was saying, unfortunately, our pilots cannot work from home. They have to come to the workplace. So while we are saying that digital has opened up opportunities for work from home, technology can, make everything possible, but you still need to be there.
I think Surya has been muted, Keshav. We can't hear him.
I know, I think, yeah, something went wrong, and Thomas round the
Okay.
class got us. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, perfect.
Okay. So that's a limitation that while we are talking about technology, but is all pervasive, but there are areas which have really been impacted by the lockdown.
Yeah.
So industries like travel, tourism, hospitality, airlines, transport, real estate, many of them have been impacted. Digital has not really been able to impact there positively. While there are other industries like IT itself, insurance, healthcare, e-retail, e-commerce, edtech, those industries have really flourished. Other limitation, what I see is while the human unlimited, infinite human resilience is the strength, but our ability or lack of ability or inability to cope with stress is also a limitation. But we have seen that in organization. We have seen that in societies. People have broken down. They have given up. We have seen many celebrities who have committed suicide, business tycoons, they have committed suicide. So somewhere, it's also the limitation, the lack of the ability to cope with the situation. While on one hand, human beings are extremely resilient, on the other hand, they're also fragile. They're vulnerable. That vulnerability is also is a limitation. I think we really need to kind of see how we can help people who have that limitation. How can we support? The threats, when we talk about the threats, there are plenty of them. The lockdown itself is a threat, but there's no guarantee that there won't be another lockdown.
Yeah.
So that threat is always there. So what we have seen in the last few years, so there's a concept called black swan events, events which have got huge ramifications, negative ramifications and
Black swan.
implications, but they're also very rare. But we have seen that in the recent past, in the last 1 decade or so, black swan events have become more common and more frequent.
More frequent.
In the last 1 decade, we saw 1 decade or so, we saw the 9/11 crisis. We saw the Brexit crisis. We are seeing the lockdown. And we can't guarantee that we'll not see another black swan event in the near future. So the threats of black swan events will continue to loom large. I think that's a big threat. With digital coming in a big way, another threat is going to be security, cyber security, data privacy, compliance. These threats will continue to loom large. As we open up, as we, through the digital technologies, we open up everything. There is e-commerce, there is e-retail. People can transact, make payments using the payment gateways, etc. I think cyber security is going to be a very big threat, and we'll really have to figure out how do we deal with that. Opportunities are plenty. I think the opportunities are the lockdown has opened up opportunities for gig economy. Gig economy has been there for some time, but is now going to accelerate this, right? So people who want to work for multiple employers, people who want to freelance, opportunity for them are only going to grow, provided they're flexible. It's going to open up opportunities for distributed working. Our metro cities are going to become decluttered. People will go back to their own hometowns, villages, small towns. That's going to be another opportunity. Married women who wanted to take care of their homes and could not come back to the workplace now can work. They don't have to commute for 3 hours every day to reach their office and get back home. They can work from their homes because digital will open up that opportunities. So people who are actually struggling, especially returning mothers who wanted to come back to the workplace, digital will open up that opportunity. Technology driven innovation is going to be our opportunity. Distributed working is going to be an opportunity. The list will go on. But I would like to kind of hand it back to you, Keshav. I
Yeah,
would like to hear more
I
from
think
the other co-panelists.
that's a brilliant point you made, Surya, about the partially the breaking down of society, right? Because of the sheer pressure of having to deal with uncertainty. Now, you see, as L&D professionals, we've been talking about VUCA, right, as a concept in change management, and we've been evangelizing it. But it was mere theory till it happened, and COVID kind of gave you a practical insight into what is VUCA. And now there's no better, case study. But I was more inspired by the way India responded to Australia in cricket, right? When they went there, touted as, failures who were going to be 0-4 at the end of 2 months. And they turned it around to 2-1. And today the case study is, what did they do? What were the strategies they used? And the one thing that happened was, when India was 36 all out, the next morning at the stat meeting, the first change they made was, let us change our whole approach and increase our bowling strength rather than increase our batting strength. Because, they would obviously think that now these guys are broken down, so we are going to just run through them, and these guys are going to work on their batting. But instead, they shifted the whole paradigm to increasing their bowling skill. So I think that is what we're going to see, in the world as well. And that is where I'm going to bring Suma in, right? Suma, you've seen quite a bit of what has happened, and especially one aspect of, the working woman that Surya touched on. I'm sure that is something that you're very passionate about. You've always been a very passionate, advocate for giving more power to the woman, working woman. So how has the pandemic affected that, and what do you see as the digital world's change in terms of the working woman? That would be my particular angle I would ask you to speak on, but of course you're open to start as you like.
Right. Thank you so much, Keshav, for bringing me in on that one particular point that I'm really passionate about. Unfortunately, with all the other things that have happened, I've taken 2020 very positively, because, we spoke about the strengths and opportunities. I will not talk about limitations and threats yet. But yes, we have been able to work on our strengths, and, we have got opportunities which we didn't think were possible. So as much as that has been exciting and wonderful, there has been also a flip side to it. And actually, along with other things that Surya said, he also spoke about human resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And that also would lead us to, mental health issues too. And when we're talking about the working women, as passionate as they are about their work and wanting to achieve something and, do something meaningful in life, apart from taking care of the home, which is, I think, by far the most meaningful, what has happened in my perspective with the kind of interactions that I've been having with a lot of other women working, there has been no defined boundary. Earlier, you picked up your laptop, you picked up your lunchbox, and you moved out of the house, and you were able to compartmentalize. So for women especially, the pandemic and the lockdown and the work from home has not been as hunky-dory as it has been for the men. So that is one thing that has been a little bit of a concern, because
Sure.
as a counselor also, I've been dealing with a lot of women who've come back and said, it's really getting to me. So unlike the popular perception that, women can get back to work now because from the safety and the confines of the home and comfort zone, everything, it hasn't been all that exciting. I think it'll evolve eventually, but these are early days yet. So that is something that has been very prominent in my mind, because I keep on trying to understand how better can we implement certain things where it becomes easy for them also. So that is what I thought, one thing needed to be spoken about, because even as HR professionals, this is something that not many of us are talking about.
Sure.
We're only talking about the virtues of working from home as a generic concept. But then unfortunately, the divide between the genders is very prominent. And we need to, we need to work on that too. So any HR professional, I think the theme for this year, post the pandemic, I think the theme would be unlearn. So most of us are learning new things because, everything is there for us. Like the other day, you and I were talking about Alvin Toffler. Remember?
Yes.
So there's so
Alvin
much
Toffler,
of
yes,
yeah.
course.
So there's so much happening, and everything is there. Shared economy and telecommuting. But the telecommuting, it still needs to evolve to a better stage. I think that will not happen only with the corporates or work or whatever. It needs to be a social construct that needs to change for that. So it's going to take some time. But that's something that I have been very interested in knowing, as HR professionals, what are we going to do about it? Because, and also I like the theme of the event, Back to the Future, because future, we have not arrived in the future. The future has arrived for us, and quicker than we anticipated. Like you mentioned, VUCA. VUCA as a concept sounded very nice and it was very futuristic and we were all working towards it. But unfortunately, the pandemic did not give us enough time to prepare for it. We just landed bang in the middle of it and we're still evolving. So, and the threats when we're talking about, I think information overload has become a threat. And, I'd like to connect that with also the opportunities. They're going hand in hand when I look at it from my perspective. Everything is available online. I want to learn something, I can go ahead and do it. And like you mentioned, the Zoom calls, I hop in from one meeting to the other. Can you just imagine if it was a physical, actual event happening, coordinating with Surya, me and Milind to reach Chennai and, do all the things vis-a-vis sitting here, the comfort of my home and being a part of such a wonderful event. So all these being the opportunities that we have, I think we're kind of getting into too many things. It's like a fear of missing out, FOMO that the young people would want.
FOMO, yes, absolutely.
So that has become another threat also to us because there's so much going around, we don't know where to stop. At some level, we just need to take a step back to understand where we are going and how we want to go. That's one of the reasons why I said learning is one thing, but unlearn would be the theme for the year post the pandemic. Only when we do that, we're actually going to go ahead and do something more meaningful. So that's the limitation, and those are the opportunities that I look at, from my perspective. The rest of it, I had wanted to sound very intellectual and talk about a lot of things, but Surya has already spoken about them. It doesn't make sense to repeat them all over again. So this is my view on the whole things, Keshav.
Yeah, perfect, Suma. And Suma, one point you made which stuck in my mind, the positive side of resilience, when I talked about the Indian cricket team, Virendra Sehwag kind of quoted our Prime Minister Narendra Modi the other day by when we won the match. He said, "Ghar mein ghus ke mara," right? Which is a positive thing that you got into Australia and beat them where it hurts them.
Yes.
But the flip side, the way I see it on your presentation is now Zoom and the digital world, ghar mein ghus ke aapko marte hain. Right? Because it takes away your personal time, it takes away family time. People say, what's your big deal? I mean, you're just listening, I'm talking, and why can't you spend another hour on this meeting? And they don't realize that, it disrupts the whole family structure and harmony. So everything, I think it's the strengths. When you cross the line, it becomes a weakness. Same thing that you said about threats. If you cross the line, the opportunity becomes a threat, or the other way around. So it depends on how we balance everything.
It's all about fine-tuning it.
Fine-tuning it, balancing it.
Yes.
And that, of course, brings me to our third panelist of the day, Mr. Milind Kher from Mumbai. Now, Mumbai is one of the big cities that has miraculously survived in terms of law and order situation. People expected that it'll explode with the pandemic. They thought that it would be difficult. Delhi and Mumbai were being watched as the two places where something will break, something has to give. But I thought they managed decently with the pressures of. On the other hand, of course, Mumbai was least affected by commuting issues like drivers and people like that getting out of jobs. Well, everyone depended on public transport much more. So one doesn't know where we stood. And I'm going to invite Milind to open up on the topic and give us a special something about how Mumbai manages, because we always say whatever happens in Mumbai happens in India a few years later. So that's one way of looking at Mumbai. So go ahead, Milind.
Please come in. Thanks so much, Keshav.
What I'll do is, you've beautifully, named that thing as the slot analysis. I'll quickly run through the slot and then come to the special feature on Mumbai. Yeah. So, firstly, I would like to really congratulate DG Vaishnav College for an absolutely fantastic theme, which is so relevant today. Digital vicinity is something which is now even physically close to our hearts. So, okay, so talking of slot, now we always talk around what our passion is. So my passion being emotional intelligence. I will not touch upon self-awareness because I think, Keshav, that is your domain. But I will come to self-regulation, which is a huge strength for us. See, in self-regulation, there are two things. One is adaptation and the other is innovation. I think this has phenomenally helped us in the pandemic, because the kind of digitization that India has undergone, like Facebook tying up with Jio, and a huge increase in the Facebook reach, a fantastic increase in mobile telephony, and possibly today the heaviest internet traffic on the virtual platforms that we have. I think all this is a fantastic strength as far as India is concerned. And I think the speed with which people have been picking up this thing, a lot of people who we never credited with being tech savvy are today operating Zoom and operating it so fluently. Fantastic. I mean, people of my generation are also doing quite okay, So that's one thing. The limitation is only infrastructural. I think because if we want a digital economy, we need 24 hours power in every village, and we need high internet speeds. So that's a bit of a long-term thing, but I'm sure that we'll get there, because even today, when I look at the power outages, when I look at the internet outages, I think the track record is much, much better than it used to be earlier.
That's true.
Yeah.
But is it enough? That is a question. You've
No,
rightly pointed out.
we still need to, I think, work on that. Because we are still apprehensive. We're still apprehensive that today, if I'm conducting a webinar, will I be able to go without a backup throughout? We always have to keep our mobile backups. We always have to keep some power backup, something like that. So can we work without that backup? That is when we will have really arrived over there, is what I feel. So that's that limitation. The threat that I'm seeing is mainly at a psychological and an emotional level. The damage to the psyche that has happened in terms of some people who are vulnerable. That is something that needs a lot of working on. Unfortunately, what I think is that there was a lot of hype in mass communication that was created on the number of deaths happening and all that. So in fact, when people used to discuss this with me, I used to always tell them, look at it in perspective. Look at the deaths per million. India is much lower than many of the others. Look at our recovery rates. Our recovery rates are much better than the others. So this fear psychosis that had got created, one of our clients, he contacted COVID. His dad was so shocked to know that he had COVID that he got a heart attack and passed away. So so this thing
vulnerability, very vulnerable, isn't it?
Very vulnerable. So I think that is the threat that really needs to be worked on. Anybody who is in the mental health space, whether they're psychologists, therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, they all have to help our people who are struggling with their mental issues. I think that's the threat. And opportunities, I think opportunities are galore. I think the way that all geographical barriers have got dissolved, the way we can seamlessly go from meeting to meeting, the way we don't have to worry about traffic, about pollution, all that. I think these are all fantastic opportunities that are getting created. And given the intellectual capital that India has, I dare say, like we have this slogan called Made in India, Make in India. We need to actively push a slogan called Learn in India also, because we've got some of the best learning and development resources that the world has, and I'm sure at L&D Global, Keshav, you would agree with me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so this was the slot. Now let's talk about Mumbai.
Yeah.
Mumbai is a city that goes beyond resilience. It is anti-fragile. Mumbai actually thrives on crisis and difficult situations.
Chaos and crisis. Yeah.
And I think it is all to do with the mindset of the people. Look at a simple example. Look at Hurricane Katrina versus 26/7. Hurricane Katrina, what happened? There was a law and order breakdown, and all looting of shops and everything. In 26/7, nothing like that happened in Mumbai. On the other hand, there was everybody who was going out of their way to help people. There were people providing free food and everything. My wife's car had got stuck in the flood. Catering college students came, and fortunately she had a small car, so
they actually lifted it up.
They actually lifted it up and put it to safety and all that. So I think it's the culture that has come over the years, and the soul of Mumbai lies in its complete openness and broad-mindedness. There is no religion, language, or culture that dominates Mumbai. There is a thing called being a Mumbaikar,
So
you can be from Tamil Nadu, you can be from UP, Rajasthan, wherever. So it's that. So I think it's the flexibility, it's the open-mindedness, and it's the resilience of Mumbai that is really helping Mumbai cope.
Yeah, so that's a lesson for the rest of the country as well.
Yeah.
No, and if you take a very popular concept in the Bhagavad Gita, Parasparam Bhavayanta, you tend to help each other, right? When you're in trouble. Correct. Of course, the moment the trouble passes, you're back to pulling a knife on the other guy, right? Because once you get prosperous, you want to guard yourself, protect yourself, and you draw the boundary and you put up the boundary wall. But when we are attacked, like we were by the pandemic, I think we all came together, right? And we fought back.
Yes. And I think that's the time when we showed the quality of what is called Vasudev Kutumbakam,
Yes.
Everybody is one family.
Absolutely. So that brings me to asking Surya a very interesting question. So Surya, you've been working with people across the world. We're not talking just India or Mumbai or Chennai, where we are located as a college or a campus. What have you seen as a personal experience? The effect of the digital drive or overdrive, if you want to call it, on people across the world, especially professionals, because you've been interacting with them, but also anything that, because I know you keep in touch with almost every section of society, if you can, because of your passion for what you do. So what has been some of the personal changes that you have seen in people and the way they behave?
Yes, I think some interesting changes have started happening.
Great.
People have started challenging their own paradigms. That's a big change that has happened that I'm seeing today. We now can believe that marriages can happen without pomp and ceremony. So we have challenged many paradigms that we had before.
Sure.
The other change that I'm seeing is people are now becoming they're trying to reimagine. If there is a situation, they visualize. What's the alternate path, instead of trying to. So if there is a road blocking your way, there are two ways. One is you put all your might to remove that block, huge rock lying on the road. Maybe you may not succeed, but you find an alternate path. So I think when a few months into the pandemic, I got a WhatsApp message on my WhatsApp, which says, "Are you working from home? Do you want to work from home in Coorg? Please come over. We'll provide you the best hospitality, the best broadband connection, and you can work from home." you can work from the comforts of our resort.
Yeah.
So while because of the pandemic, the tourism sector was really struggling,
Yeah.
here is somebody who's trying to reimagine.
So an opportunity.
Trying to see how I can still create an opportunity for myself in the midst of, all the challenges that we are facing, the challenges my business is facing. So this person actually reimagined that there's a way we can really still do business, even if the tourism industry has been hit badly. When the Prime Minister announced that all the railway coaches will be converted, not all, but many railway coaches will be converted into hospitals, that's reimagination. ITC Corporation tied up with Domino's, and at the peak of the lockdown, where the restaurants were closed, Domino's were not selling pizzas. They reached out to them and they said, look, now groceries are essential products. We don't have a door-to-door network channel. We don't have a door-to-door distribution channel.
Correct.
You have a door-to-door distribution
we'll
channel, but you are not selling pizzas.
Yeah, we'll use your
We are selling groceries, but we don't have a door-to-door network channel. Can we partner?
Sure.
So
collaboration.
I've seen that. So these are the changes that I'm seeing. People are trying to reimagine, reinvent. They're trying to becoming more flexible, more adaptable. Agility is another change that I'm seeing. People are becoming more agile. Also, at the same time, they're trying to challenge their paradigms. A change that I'm also seeing at the same time, which is not a welcome change, is people have started working 24/7.
Yeah.
That's not a positive change. It also, I think many of my colleagues in the industry complain that the expectation from their peers, from their colleagues, from their bosses is, since you're working from home, you're available all the time.
Yeah.
So if I need to talk to you, you should be available at 11 p.m. in the night. I think we really have to kind of draw the line, as you mentioned some time ago, that the future has arrived and digital has arrived in our homes. But it's up to us to decide. When I switch on my mobile phone, there are messages which get bombarded, but I have a choice to switch off my phone.
Yes.
So I have a choice to prevent.
How to respond? How to respond is a choice.
How do I respond? So these are some of the changes that I'm seeing today.
Fantastic. Any one outstanding case of resilience or response that comes to your mind about the way a person handled, let's say, an interview call or a hiring process, or anything that comes to your mind, that stands out in your mind as how could this guy be so innovative in this situation? I would like you to think about it and maybe come back. Right. And
honestly, I was impressed by that WhatsApp message.
Yes, obviously. That's why I asked you for some more, because that was obviously a very interesting. I also remember that someone in Singapore, or I think it was in KL or Singapore, who redesigned the hotel in such a way that each bay he split into two with a false ceiling. So one couple would sit at the ground floor and the other would be on the mezzanine in the same outlet, and it was just an outlet. So they would go like that, and someone sat on top and someone sat below, so that social distancing happened. Right. And it was a very innovative way, but it was extra cost. And that's a question I want to throw to all of you now. Have countries like China managed better because of the infrastructure that they had in place before the change happened? Or is India's challenge or India's response better because of our resilience, that we were not prepared and therefore we reacted slightly better in terms of helping each other, pulling each other out of the hole, saving each other better? And that's an interesting question that I want to throw to all of you. Are we more prepared, or rather are we better unprepared for the future than some other countries who look over-prepared for the future, like China? And one of them is, of course, 5G and new technology coming. You hear that it affects your health, it can affect your hearing, or your brain and all kinds of things, cancer caused by 5G and all that. So I want to throw that open to any one of you to answer. How do you see our preparation for the future? Is it adequate, or are other countries probably doing a step or two ahead of us or behind us? Which would you, what would you think about it? So I want to throw it up to anyone who would like to go first.
So Keshav, I think I would like to go at this.
Sure.
You have spoken about the preparation that India may or may not have done vis-a-vis certain other countries, mainly China and others, right? So I think there are a few very beautiful adjectives that are added to India and the Indians in particular. Right. So some of them being experts at Jugaad.
Yeah.
Experts.
Jugaad.
Yes. And like all of us seem to agree on, we are a very resilient lot.
Right.
Throw anything at us and we'll come out on tops. Right. And unfortunately, where I see that we have a threat is the discipline area. But then again, my philosophy is never say never. So sometimes lack of it also can, work in our favor. Yeah. That's what we saw during the pandemic. Sure. And like Milind had also mentioned, the floods that came along and how we kind of, we came out and supported each other instead of trying to, hurt each other or try to do certain things which were not necessary. So that's the kind of a ethos that India has, despite all our other bickerings and stuff that go on and on and on. Thanks to certain other people we don't want to talk about. But I think as a country, we are a very positively, we are very positive people. And we like to look at things that way. And that is our strength, actually. So not being prepared has opened up so many things vis-a-vis if we had, and we're also like the sheep, you tell them something and we generally follow. That's the norm that Indians have. The leader comes and says, Tali bajao, we do that.
That was.
Whether I believe in it or not, whether I see any merit in it or not, but we'll go ahead and still do it. And that's another thing that Indians are very, very, popular for. So I think not having any preparation worked in our favor, because we saw a lot of things popping up and so many entrepreneurs that just came up, whether it's just the neighborhood auntie who was good at making some chai or pakoda, suddenly she's an entrepreneur now. Because of the COVID and a lot of lockdown, also a lot of people,
found new ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that has been our strength.
Yeah.
And we have always been the kind who take it by the flow, we just go with the flow, take it by the ear and move on. I don't think India as a country, we are very systematic and, I think that will hamper our style actually. So I think...
I want to counter that by a very interesting thing I heard the other day from a friend of mine in the Nilgiris. Right. He has a hospital up in Ooty. Mm-hmm. And he said that, the ventilators came and came and came. And he says, now we don't know what to do with them. We haven't even opened those boxes, right? Because people made ventilators like crazy. Like the Mahindra, plant line completely changed to making ventilators. Yes. But today we don't need them. And what do we do with them? So I said, now we will learn how to make something else out of them, right? We might even make sandwich toasters and sell it in the market, but we'll find a way. That's the belief.
Yes.
Right?
Like I said, we're like the sheep.
Yeah.
One idea clicks somewhere and everybody wants to go ahead and do that. That's why we have the surplus of all these things that have come up into our lives now. Yeah. Vis-a-vis the ventilators or the mask, everybody wants to make a mask now.
Sure.
Everybody's become an entrepreneur. As wonderful as that is, but there's got to be somewhere we need to think beyond that.
Yes.
Right? So,
and I think tailors, a whole lot of people who had lost their jobs really to the retail market, clothing market, suddenly came alive because mask became something that only a tailor can do, not you can't expect a branded company to be making masks day in and day out. So this became very handy for somebody to start again at home.
Yes, and I'll also give you a woman's perspective on that, all right?
Yeah.
Now we have retail outlets and some fashion designers and all coming up with matching masks to go with your
accessories,
wedding attire and stuff like that. So who would have thought of it? I don't think anybody else other than Indians can think of all these things, So yeah, it has opened up a lot of opportunities for us, but then not being prepared for it has worked in our favor is what I think.
Suma, I want you to know even male shirt brands are creating masks that match the shirting.
Oh, really?
Shirts, yeah. Ready-made shirts with masks that match. So you can imagine how innovation is spreading. Can I request Milind to probably throw, because he's got his retail experience already. So how do you think we're going to deal with this muchness or overgrowth, mushrooming of business during the lockdown, which is now going to become irrelevant and get phased out? How do you see that again leading to digital literacy?
Keshav, I think what is happening is that there's a very strong hybrid model that is coming across,
Okay.
Earlier you had brick and mortar and you had total virtual business.
Yeah.
Now I think the hybrid thing is click and mortar.
And mortar, yes.
Yeah, so you can actually click and there are a lot of delivery centers also, which now Amazon and other people, they have delivery centers. You can just place your order and then you can pass by and you can pick up your stuff from that particular center.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a huge opportunity that has come up, and I think e-tailing on the whole has gone up substantially. Now Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, all these people, they're doing roaring business. In fact, Amazon is on a hiring spree. So,
but I see this as a dangerous trend, because at some point the bubble bursts. Right? It's like the engineers of the 80s becoming irrelevant once IT came in. It's like the doctors of the 70s becoming irrelevant because there's a mushroom growth, and then there's too many. And then when the business goes away, all these guys end up unemployed. And what do you do with them? So that's something that worries me a little bit. But at some point, you have to realize resilience matters. People have to go back to the philosophical aspect that there must be a way out, and you must. Our challenge is only how to find that way out. It's not about doubting the way, right? We have a way out. That should never be.
And what I'm saying is, like we look at big data today. Big data is a big thing, for analyzing trends and all. One thing we also need to look at is small data. Small data basically are those tiny little changes in the environment which tell us what is actually going to happen in the future.
Correct.
And a lot of black swans emerge because we've not read the small data.
You ignored the small data, thinking they're irrelevant, but they just balloon up, right?
Correct.
They just balloon up and they catch up. Very true. Thank you, Madan. Surya, your thoughts on how the industry is going to cope with irrelevance, obsolescence, reskilling, and digital illiteracy, right? How is it affecting people, and how are we going to deal with it as a community? In fact, I want to place on record before Surya talks that L&D Global feels as committed to the process as DG Vaishnav as knowledge partners. So we would do whatever we can to help the youngsters of not just this batch or the community we are talking to today. We would be happy to partner with you on reskilling of people, especially the lesser privileged people who have no access to computers, no access to digital literacy. I think we would love to help in any way, and I'm just taking the liberty on behalf of my 3 colleagues here from L&D Global that anywhere in India, we would be happy to do what we can. Having said that, I would invite Surya to say a few things on how we can help.
Before I talk about how is industry dealing with this, I think I was tempted to talk a little bit about this India's preparedness, because I think Suma, and you have thrown light on that. I think I liked what Suma said. I think Jugaad is the Indian name for reimagination and reinvention. And while this whole idea was being looked down upon in the past, now this has really come out as our savior. I think we also have another concept which is very philosophical or spiritual, which is Aham Brahmasmi.
Absolutely.
We believe, that
you are that.
Yes. So we never distinguish ourselves from others. So when we see somebody in distress, we naturally go and help.
Yeah.
Because we don't see the other person as different or separate from us. He or she may not be a family member, but we always treat everybody else as our own. I think that's another powerful thing. And the third thing is the new India, Naya Bharat. It's very different.
Yeah.
What we are seeing in the last few decades, I think it's very different. I think we always had the talent, we always had the capability, but we lacked that grit, that confidence, that belief in ourselves.
You always had
The Naya
self-doubt
Bharat
as
has
well.
today.
Yeah.
The new India has today, and then we can probably take on any challenge that comes our way. So we are today capable, we are confident. Now coming back to industry or products and ideas getting obsolete, that's nothing new. And it's not the case because lockdown or pandemic has made it happen.
Right.
It has been there. I think with the widespread usage of technology, there is something called a creative destruction of products and services.
Mm-hmm.
New ideas are killing old ideas. New products are killing old products. An iPhone 10 probably would kill all the previous versions of iPhone. That's what is happening today. So I think the answer is very simple. We have to constantly and continuously reinvent. Organizations will have to do that. Products will have to do that. Teams will have to do that. Individuals will have to do that. And the best way to do that.
Keep running to stay in one place, Surya. Even if you are not moving ahead, keep running so that you at least stay in one place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You are on the treadmill, you keep running, but you're on the same place.
Yeah.
But we'll have to keep running. That's very important. We can't say that we have arrived.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep moving all the time. That's very important. It's very true for individuals. So the graduates of DZ Vaishnav, I think the message for them would be even when you graduate from this institution, don't think that you have learned everything.
No.
You will have to keep learning all your life. Till our last breath, we'll have to keep learning. And that's the only way we can deal with these changes. So a couple of things. The first thing, we need to accept the fact. I think, Keshav, you are talking about the worry or the concern that you have that with so many doctors or so many engineers coming to the field, or Amazon hiring, what will happen tomorrow? The reality is it'll happen. The hiring spree will, they will stop hiring at some stage, and these people will have to then find a new
ways.
For them.
New ways.
The question is, are they ready for new ways?
Mm-hmm.
The best example is Mr. Amitabh Bachchan.
Mm-hmm.
He has always kept reinventing himself. The chocolate boy hero, the angry young man, the man who played character roles, the man who played humorous roles, comic roles, the man who were in the small idiot box, in the small screen. He kept adapting.
And don't forget the chocolate old man hero.
Chocolate old man
who falls in love as a 70-year-old with a 60-year-old or a 18-year-old. I mean, he challenged every paradigm you can.
Challenged every paradigm.
But yet kept his image intact.
Many of his contemporaries who were highly successful, even more successful than him at one stage, many of them are out of the industry today. We don't even see them, don't talk about them. But he is going strong.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way we can survive in this industry in these times. Keep adapting, keep reinventing, keep reimagining, keep upskilling and reskilling yourself.
Sure.
That's
I keep thinking of Leander Paes in tennis, right? You may not read about him every day in the newspaper, and you can't imagine a more resilient guy in tennis across the world. I mean, he's partnering with all the big people, and now they are competing to partner with him, right?
Absolutely.
All the great players in the world want to play doubles with Leander Paes. That's a badge they wear, that I partnered Leander Paes. I mean, that's something that shows resilience in building.
Very true. Very true. Organizations which are large, elephantine organizations are breaking down.
Yeah.
Hierarchical structures are melting away. Large organizations are breaking up. And if is a good comparison is between an elephant and a mosquito.
Mm-hmm.
Elephant is large but not agile. It takes time to move. Mosquito is small but very agile. It can come from anywhere, and it can pierce into the from nowhere.
And get out before you can.
So large organizations are startups. Startups are really making the lives of large, gigantic organizations miserable today.
Yeah.
Now they are trying to figure out how to become smaller, manageable
agile.
chunks, more agile and lean, mean, and fighting machines.
But what explains the really big names getting bigger? Google, Amazon. You talk about the digital world, the big guys are getting bigger, right? Like they always say, the rich get richer and the poor get children, right? So you're so frustrated that you develop more liabilities than assets when you're poor. And the rich guys, they seem to get richer because they do the right thing. So I was just wondering how, the big guys, though, as you said, they're becoming smaller units to become agile, but they are again collaborating to stay as one entity, right? So Amazon wants to stay as one entity. Google, of course, Microsoft, of course, Zuckerberg, you name it, they're all trying to retain their.
I will not name organizations. I might get into trouble.
Of course you
but
should.
I think it's all cyclic.
Yeah.
You keep growing and growing and growing up to a
At some
point, and
point.
then the decay starts. That's what Vivekananda has said. The small seed is planted in the soil, and then it grows into a plant, and then grows bigger, and then become a gigantic tree. Then it's filled with flowers and fruits. Then the fruit starts becoming rotten.
And the cycle.
And it decays. It's on the ground. So it's cyclic. And then again from that decayed rotten fruit, the seed again grows into a beautiful plant. So it's cyclic. I think every organization will go through that. They will reach the plateau, and then they will start decaying again, unless they kind of really reinvent and then come back in a new avatar.
Right.
Than what they are.
Right. So I'm going to take you to one last bit that I want you to all look at, which is the ethical aspect of change during the lockdown, and of course, the change because of the digital overdrive. The ethical bit has taken a beating. Sometimes, you order food on the net, and when it arrives, you find it's not okay. But it's too difficult to send it back to the person, and the person will never be able to take it or replace it in time. So everyone just thrashes the food and says, what do you do with this? They don't keep their word. And if you go and actually see the kitchen, you might never buy from there again, right? So you don't know how the digital divide has, of course, as you said, the proximity of touch and feel, the loving hug is missing. But the other thing is the self-doubt created by lack of quality, and definitely the ethical part of, people taking shortcuts because they are the unseen providers. And therefore, I wanted you to touch on how has that affected people in terms of, how do we counter that? How do we ensure that people can also bring in quality into digital delivery? Because now that is one thing that people really feel worried about. Unless you go to a branded person, you never get enough quality. So that's one area that I wanted you to talk about.
I think I talked about cyber security as a big threat.
Yeah.
In my initial narrative, when we're talking about threats, limitations, etc. So that will continue to be a threat.
Yeah.
The best way to overcome that, Keshav, is going to be awareness.
Yes.
Understanding the possible areas where theft can happen, fraud can happen, and taking safeguard measures. So as an organization, one has to become ethical, but you cannot believe that every other organization, every other individual who's in business is following ethical practices. So you'll have to safeguard your own interest, and that's possible by improving awareness. Cybersecurity awareness is very important. When we are into banking transactions, what are the safeguard measures we need to have in place? What are the antivirus softwares that we need to install in our computer
system? Yeah.
In our system? We need to become self-aware. While we can take chances sometimes, Sometimes we'll have to trust people, but we'll also have to see what is the limit, to what extent we can go and trust, and to what extent we can take chances and take risks. Because compliance is absolutely important. While you can take chances, but if while taking chances, it impacts your customers, it's into gets into the privacy of your customers, that's definitely not acceptable.
Correct.
So I think being careful, being aware, and taking the right measures, and being ethical yourself is the way forward, is how we look at it, Keshav.
Super. Thank you, Surya. Any other thoughts from Suma on this? Because before I ask Suma to talk on that, the other area of ethical discomfort is during the pandemic was the hospital sector. People said that you go near a hospital, even if you don't have COVID, you will not come out alive, right? Simply because of billing. And then they also believed that, they were unethical because they would charge you for one PPE kit, and the same person used it for 6 different patients. All 6 get billed for that PPE kit. So is that ethical? So, I mean, people have debate. Is there really a big issue in India for accountability? That's my larger question. Is it that we are not accountable as people, that people have such a deep distrust when they, have to use any service? So, Suma, first any thoughts that you would like?
Yeah, you spoke about accountability, and yes, I have my own misgivings about the word in the context of Indians. You make the buck while the sun shines sounds good, but not to the extent that we are capable of going, and we keep on outdoing ourselves in every sphere. So that is something that I'm very unhappy about when I see things, especially when we talked about the pandemic and the hospitals. And there are quite a few others, who kind of fleece you for that last buck that you might have.
Sure.
That I think, yeah. And I kind of briefly got disconnected because I had a power outage. But by the time I came back into the call, Surya was talking about ethics and stuff. So I'm assuming that's what we're talking about.
That's right.
Right. So yes, ethics, I think at a personal level, we need to understand that it should be a way of life for us. Yeah. It should not be, flexible. It should not be situational. We need to either have it or not have it. If I'm saying I don't have or I do not operate at a level of ethics, then so be it. At least carry that on your shoulders and show it to the world. I'll know what I want to do with you, deal with you or not deal with you. But, exploiting the situations just to, make my way a little easier for me, that sounds a little bad, whether it is in the corporate world or whether it be in the hospitals or anything else that you see.
Sure.
I also remember during the pandemic, the vegetables, I do understand that the petty vendors that you have, they had a challenge. So they also became innovative. They'd come to all these communities and, they said, okay, on a certain day, we'll be here with everything. They come and they also have the same thing. Now they have no other option. So they will pay whatever I ask them to pay. Correct. So that is the kind of, I think that's the ethos of the country that we live in. And, as proud as I am of my country, that's something that I have to accept and move on. But ethics is something I think each of us needs to, at some level, understand where we are and understand the importance of actually behaving in a certain way. Integrity seems to be very, very fluid in our country.
So, yes. And, I have this theory, Suma, that we have quantity. As a market, we have quantity. Japan believes a lot in quality.
Yes.
So I believe that if we matched, Japanese quality with Indian quantity. Sorry. Mr. Crimson or Miss Crimson, will you please mute yourself, whoever you are? Very interesting color, but please mute yourself if you can. Yeah. So I was talking about if there was a or a match of Japanese quality and adherence to compliance to quality with Indian quantities, large, markets, there would be a fantastic, but somehow the collaborations have never worked out with Japanese companies, whatever. I mean, of course, Maruti Suzuki is the best example of a collaboration, but I believe that we should actually be working more on the ethical part of educating our people, right? That it doesn't pay in the long run. It gives you a short buck, but not a long-term gain. So I think that's something that worried me. My question is, has the digital world improved that, or has it increased chances for getting a little bit short-term quality? That's my worry. But I thought if you became more transparent, or if you got very close digitally, you would have to be a little upfront. If you have better systems to catch fraud, if you had better systems to catch people cheating on violating terms and conditions. And today, I think younger people don't have any kind of moral compass to tell them it's wrong. So they think, I mean, he's doing it, she's doing it, so why can't I do it?
Yeah, so whatever works for me,
whatever works for me is fine.
Yeah.
So that's a little worrying.
If we drive that sense of purpose in people, so it's about money at the end of the day. But money becomes the end.
Yeah.
It's the cause of all problems. But if money becomes a tool to achieve an end,
yeah,
then you are focused on the end and not the tool.
Absolutely.
I think that's where the problem.
That's where we need to educate a lot more, But I think overall, given all that, as a society, we don't have that much of corruption as it looks, or it is made out to be by people. You find that people more or less come together and collaborate and try to help each other rather than stab each other in the back most of the time. But when they get a chance, yes.
Yeah, there's always going to be a small minority who, you can't do anything about, Keshav. They are going to be operating from the level of I, me, and myself first. What happened to Keshav?
I think probably he got dropped, maybe had some network issues.
Must be some network issue, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think now
I think we're pretty much 1 hour, more than an hour into this discussion. I believe it was a 1 hour conversation.
Yes.
Unless we want to continue, I would request one of the members of the TG Vaishnav to kind of advise us what we should do now. Should we conclude the session?
Thank you, panelists, for an informative and enlightening session. Moving on to the Q&A segment, I request the participants to post your questions in the chat box.
So you will be reading out the questions to us?
Yes, sir, I'll be reading out the questions.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. How will be L&D in future? I think there is a question that has come, as I can see.
So
If
Surya
I
would
can
like to answer, I think you're the right guy to answer.
I can make an attempt and then.
Okay, now it was my turn for the outage. I'm sorry, I just came back.
No problems. Since you got dropped, we realized that you had a technology challenge.
Yeah.
So can we do a Q&A session? I was hoping that we can. How do we go about handling the Q&A? Can we ask?
I think they're posting questions in the chat box, Keshav.
Yeah.
And then you can ask whoever you want out of us to, respond to those questions.
So, chalo, we'll go into the chat
there is
box.
One question that has already come our
questions.
way, Keshav.
Hanji?
That is, what will be the L&D in future?
Yeah.
So I was trying to answer that question.
Sure, perfect.
Varshini has asked this question. So
perfect.
So L&D of future will depend on the industry and the society. While the industry, the businesses are changing, L&D will also change. So while industry is going to be driven by technology, and we will see more innovation, we'll see more disruption in the industry and business. We'll also see that L&D is trying to adapt to that. So I'll give you a small example. Before the automobile industry came into the fore, people used to commute on coaches drawn by horses. So there was a coachman, there were horses, and there was a coach. People used to commute in that. That was a mode of communication. When the passengers' cars came in, people started driving cars. It was convenient, it was easy, it was faster, it was more efficient. And we suddenly saw that the horses disappeared, the coaches disappeared, and the coachman disappeared. And people started driving their own cars, or they were driven by somebody. So you can imagine how L&D would have evolved. L&D probably was helping the coachman learn how to drive or run a coach. Now they have to teach drivers to drive cars. But interestingly, what happened? When the coachman disappeared, the horses disappeared, people started taking the responsibility of driving themselves. So literally, this is what is happening in the L&D space. When there were instructors, there were trainers, they were teaching in the classroom. With the evolution of technology, with the emergence of technology like e-learning, computer-based learning, web-based learning, people started taking the responsibility of learning themselves. Today, technology makes everything accessible to you. So now, in today's world, while passengers have become drivers themselves, students have become self-learners. They've started learning on their own. In the future, if you go with the same analogy, we may not have to drive our cars, because now there are some companies like Tesla and Google, they've already launched driverless cars. So we don't have to drive in the first place. So in situations where machines and robots will take care of many things for us, we may stop doing many things, like we will stop driving. If we stop driving, then we don't have to learn how to drive, right? So this is how L&D is going to adapt to the future. L&D is today getting ready to train people on certain things, but those activities will become obsolete. So we'll have to stop teaching people those activities, and we'll have to figure out what else we can teach. So and then L&D will have to do that in real quick time, because technology is evolving very, very fast. So jobs are becoming obsolete. New skills are emerging fairly quickly. So L&D has to be ready to prepare people on new skills fairly quickly. The speed at which we will have to design and churn out new learning programs and deliver new learning programs will be really humongously quick. We'll have to do that really quick. So L&D of future is going to be an L&D where we are going to leverage technology to a great extent. We are going to enable people to learn themselves. We'll have to create an ecosystem where people can learn themselves, people can learn from each other, people can learn through their peers, and so on. And the third thing which we'll see in L&D is personalization of learning. We'll see, it's like you go to a Subway and you order a sandwich. They will ask you to choose your sandwich. They will ask you to choose your bread, choose your cheese, choose your sauce, choose your spices. Everybody who walks into the same restaurant or same outlet can walk away with very different sandwiches. So similarly, In the good old days, we used to train everybody on the same thing. But tomorrow, learning is going to be highly personalized. I will walk into the learning ecosystem, work away with what I need. Hyper personalization of learning is going to be the future. So these are some of the changes we will see in L&D. That's how L&D is going to evolve.
Right. If I may add to what Surya has said, I think individual development plan is going to be the buzzword from now on in L&D. In terms of no generic training for everybody, at one level, but bits and pieces of whatever, it's like a la carte. You just pick up what you want, and that's how we're going to be doing the L&D from now onwards, is what I feel.
I want to add, IDP is, like you said, the catchword, individual development plan. We are getting instances at work where we are becoming personal coaches for different skills for different managers in the same organization or the same team.
Yes.
So you're doing presentation skills for one person, almost like a school calendar. You're doing presentation skills for one person, you're doing assertiveness for another person. Right? You're doing strategic negotiation with the third person, and you're actually telling different people the same little skill broken down into little personalized modules for different people. We're doing it in a very, very micro level. And I'm sure, like Surya says, this is going to really, bloom into a very big system where you can actually park them on racks and pick up your modules and get out. But of course, we are doing it pen and paper. We are sitting down and discussing, this is what you need, and this is the time we're going to spend with you, etc. I'm sure that is going to become digital very soon. So this is a personal experience I wanted to share.
Yeah.
So who's taking the questions up?
I think there's another question talking about the blockchain in HR.
Yeah.
I think Varshini Raman says, what would be the contribution of blockchain in HR? So I think digitization being an integral part of our lives now, and HR also is evolving. Like, for example, I've been hearing about a lot of AI and ML being implemented in HR. And we're talking about chatbots, which are going to be chatbots rather, who are going to be very instinctive in their reply. They'll understand the tone in which you have been asking the question and respond accordingly. So I think, yes, blockchain as a concept, yes, it is going to be an integral part of HR going forward. You can no longer say I'm only into what the various functions of HR, but they're all going to be clubbed together. And I think blockchain will be a very integral part of it from now onwards. And the security issues and the ethics and so on and so forth that we spoke about, blockchain is going to actually, block those particular elements.
Yeah, eliminates many of those,
yes.
no?
Yes, it does. It does. So I think a lot of transparency will come into it, and a lot of digitization will happen. So blockchain, yes, you need to be aware of it, and you need to be prepared for it in HR.
I think organizations need to make those investments in digital learning,
yes.
which I think is the main block. It's a mental, it's a mental decision that people are putting off about how much to invest in the digital learning space, and of course in L&D itself. And we've always thought, as long as the profits are there, don't worry about it. But what are you doing with the profits is what matters. And if you don't invest at least a good part of your profits, COVID is a good reason why you learned that you have to learn to share your reserves by plowing it back in the right place in the organization, and not just in infrastructure and buildings and all that. I think that's a learning. There was a question I thought interesting about, people saying that you will work 24/7 and that's not a good thing. So I think the question Karthikeyan asked was, how do you stop that? And I think that is where assertiveness comes. And you have to get the respect you deserve as a professional by giving the respect to the person who's asking, but attacking the issue and saying that I don't have the time to finish this today. It is important that I have my child and I have to spend time at home. So let me finish this and renegotiate on the deadline. And you find that most people, if you're adding value, will give you that space. If you're not, in any case, you're afraid that you'll get kicked out, which is anyway going to happen. So it's better that you push the door and negotiate for what you want. Otherwise, it's not worth working in a place where you're not being respected for the time that you need at home. I think that's a fair demand. Anyone else who noticed a question you want to answer? I kind of missed out on. Some of them are really big and winded. So I think there's an interesting question from Dinesh Shankar. Where do we stand between the digital world and physical world? For example, there is a candidate who said he doesn't have a stable network connection and to attend the online training. And one more candidate said, I can't come to office, sorry, due to corona threat. So what is the meeting point, an equilibrium or balance between people making those demands that they can't, you know?
Yeah, so I think, Keshav, the answer to that is, again, as I talked earlier in the context of retailing also, it is going to be a hybrid model, and there are going to be certain cases where people will do things digitally and certain cases where physical attendance is a must. I'll tell you, for instance, like now we do a lot of training with the manufacturing sector, and we do training with hospitality. Now, manufacturing and hospitality, the training cannot be done virtually because there are actually physical processes that are happening, and you have to be there at the place where that physical process is happening. So I think a lot of industries are going to move back to the physical space, whereas those who have discovered that they can operate without it, they will continue to work from home. Like in Pune, I've noticed software has permanently moved to work from home in a lot of companies.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it's going to be.
So that calls for more self-discipline than anything else, or self-regulation is the word you used, Milind, in EI.
Yeah.
And it's very important that people are responsible enough to take charge rather than be forced to take charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Keshav, you have actually answered one of the questions here.
Yeah.
I think it's by Vaishnavi. I'm hoping I have pronounced it correct. Vaishnavi Harikrishnan.
Yeah.
And she talks about, does digital vicinity promote work-life balance for the employees?
Yeah.
So you have actually answered that question.
Yeah, and partly you answered it in the beginning when you said that, women have a tough time when people dump everything on them, expecting 24/7.
Yeah.
Surya touched on it too. But I think it is just the perfect time to become more assertive in life, right? And sometimes you have to say, I'm sorry, but the question is, how civil can we be about it? I like the Christine Porat, approach on TEDx, I think, about civility at the workplace. So it is about how civil you are, right? But not about saying no, right? It's not a question of how to say no. It's about being civil while saying no and being realistic about the demand made by the person. So if you can judge both of that with enough emotional intelligence, then you can easily handle it with better communication.
Absolutely. Yes.
In fact, I have a pet theory that if you went into YouTube now and spent some time on the post-match interviews of what happened at Australia in those 2 months, you can get a really good case study on how we dealt with a situation where we were down and out, we were counted out, we were abused, we were threatened, we were bullied, right?
And today, of stretching and stuff that goes on.
Yes. And now today we have come out of it and we are looking much stronger. So I think that's a kind of reflection. If you are into cricket, you would understand it more. And at the end of it, the danger is people always ask me, oh, so you're a big cricket fan. They brand you for whatever example you take. If I took a tennis example, they said, so you're a tennis player. If I said the army, they said, were you in the army before? So I think people brand you by whatever examples you take. But I think this cricket tour was a great example of how to fight back during a pandemic, or even, how to face the future with more confidence. I think it's an amazing story. Any other thoughts as we wind up? Because I think this is a good time to wind up, right?
It's a very interesting question. I think all of us might want to, this,
Yeah.
maybe we could make this the last question.
Yes,
So
let's make it the last.
Yeah. So apparently this is coming from the YouTube live session. So there's a gentleman, I'm assuming gentleman, Prasanna Krishnamurthy.
Yeah.
As most of the discussion was based on how digital vicinity has emerged, mainly because of COVID-19 situation.
Yeah.
When would we have achieved this digital vicinity if this COVID situation hadn't arisen? I think we would have slowly but surely made our way, because there are a lot of things which are evolving.
Yeah.
It's just that I think COVID just kind of, speeded up the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would, if you want a ballpark figure, I would have said in 5 years we would have been anyway forced into that situation because of the way we were working in any case. It was like a bubble about to break. And to me, it was a need versus greed world that ended. The greed world ended, and the need world started with the pandemic. Now, the greed world was a bubble that I thought was going to burst, because transport, Ola, Uber, all the other brands that you talk about, and I've become suddenly aware after what Surya said that we shouldn't be naming organizations or brands, but all of them, like hotels, any service, everyone went on overdrive trying to, build up fast scale in their business. And then you realize at some point that the poor customer can't take everything that you. So then the bubble would have burst. But I thought, since we could not politely tell them you're doing the wrong thing, COVID decided, nature, like they say in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Yada yada hi dharmasya, when dharma breaks down, right? I will come back in one way or the other. So nature came back strongly with COVID to remind us that we were getting into overdrive, our roads were getting choked, we were getting into traffic jams, right? And then we realized we needed a little space, but nobody could tell others, don't do it. I think this was a ready-made way, and I think when I see the world in another 5 years would have anyway reached that spot, is what I read. Surya, your thoughts? It'll be more interesting to see what you think.
I think while we're talking about digital vicinity, I think it's already there.
It is there.
Even before COVID came in.
Yeah.
And the simple example is, today you don't have to, when technology started evolving, we used to go to Google and search for information. We used to go to different websites and search for information. But today when we switch on your mobile phone, it says that you may be interested in this topic. Here is a video for you. You may want to know more about this subject. Here is a blog for you. You may be wanting to buy this shoes of this brand. This is available online at 30% discount. So earlier we used to go out looking for information. Now information comes looking for us. Content comes looking for us. And there can't be any vicinity of any greater extent. It's already there in our day-to-day lives. So digital is already there. It is kind of, it's not in the vicinity, it has already entered. Our day-to-day.
So the question is, how do you define vicinity? But that's a very good debate to discuss, because what is distance anyway? There is no distance. It's shrunk so much, right? So even to
and in organizations case, we're talking about men and machines working together.
Absolutely.
When I say men, I mean both men and women.
Yeah.
So human beings and machines are now sitting next to each other, and they're next to each other and working with each other.
Yeah. And the question is, are we lost without a mobile phone anywhere in India? Are we lost? We feel lost totally, because there's no access to anyone, right? If you're stuck in the railway station with your mobile, you're stuck.
You're right. And Keshav, the day is not very far. Today, men and machine are working together.
Yeah.
Day is not very far. Tomorrow, a machine is all probability could become my boss, my supervisor. Today, machine is my colleague, but tomorrow I could get my instructions from a machine. Let's be prepared for it. Back to the Future.
Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. So, on a very, we talk about science fiction and fantasy. That might be a good note to end on. Thank you so much. It's been a great morning for me, especially a delight to talk to three of my best friends, right, in learning and development. Thank you, Surya. Thank you, Suma, and thank you, Milan, for
Thanks,
making
Keshav.
the
Thank you so
morning very
much.
interesting for me. And I hope everyone here enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone here, because it makes a big difference, because you've given the biggest resource you have in life, you have given to us, your time, right? No money can buy the time that you have given us. And we are ever grateful to you for the time that you've given us. So if you can, in any way, if you can repay, reach out to us at L&D Global. We'd be happy to be partners in anything that you're doing, provided it is good for you and for the rest of the world, to create a win-win solution for the future. So on this note, on behalf of my three panelists, I would like to thank you and hand the session back for a really, really lovely time that we had with Tanthra 2021. The best of luck to all of you who passed out of this batch, and I hope you all find your positions in the sun very soon, and we hope that we keep in touch with you always. Thank you, Professor Martin.
Thank you, panelists, for patiently answering the questions. Now we have neared the end of the event. I would like to extend my gratitude to everyone present here for this vibrant occasion. I couldn't possibly do justice to my duty here without thanking and recognizing the individual contribution that have been materialized here today. I would like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Keshav for being the moderator and for bringing the esteemed panelists here today. I would also like to thank Mr. Surya Prakash, Mr. Milind Kher, and Ms. Suma Rao, our distinguished speakers for the day, for their unique insights and shared experiences that I'm sure has left an impact on all of us here today. I would like to thank our knowledge partner, L&D Global. I extend my gratitude to Potential Genesis for their timely support. On behalf of the Department MA HRM, I would like to thank the management, secretary, and principal for their unending support towards all our endeavor. I would also like to thank all the HR professionals who spend their valuable time in attending our event. I would like to thank the HOD of MSW, Dr. Sulupriya, her team, and other professors from various institutions for their presence. On behalf of all the students present here today, I would like to thank the HOD of MAHRM, Dr. N.C. Martin, the team of faculty members, and to all the coordinators for always doing their absolute best to enable access to various opportunities so that we may consistently elevate our knowledge. Lastly, I would like to thank all the students who have gathered here today for this event. Hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did and had lots of important takeaways. Thank you for attending. I request all the participants to switch on the video for clicking a group picture.
Wow, that is special, isn't it? Yeah, right. Almost 100 people even now, 90. I think that's
Wonderful. Fantastic gathering.
Yeah, not to talk about those in YouTube, on YouTube and Facebook. Well done, children, if I may say so. Right? I'm sure you guys are allergic to being called children now. Right?
The airlines calls them boys and girls.
Boys and girls. Yeah, you're on an Indigo flight of fantasy. Boys and girls. Okay. I hope everyone's coming online. This is part of digital etiquette, I guess. Everyone is coming, showing up on your camera, I hope.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
I request the audience to rise up for the national anthem.
Thank you.
Thank you once again. The feedback link is provided in the chat box. Please fill the feedback form and let us know your thoughts. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, then I guess it's time to say bye-bye. Bye, Suma.
Yeah, bye, Keshav.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Thank you.
bye,
Bye.
everybody, and all the very best, each one of you.
Yeah, all the best to every one of you.
Yes.
Thank you for making it a great morning, very well conducted.
Yes.
Good show, students. Good, very good. Keep it up.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
for your
sir.
participation.
Thank you. All the best.
Very nice to have
Thank
you.
you, Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good show. Good
Thank
show.
you for attending.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It's nice to see you.
So thank you, Professor. You have been from the beginning.
Okay. ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்துச்சு.
Okay. Okay. Very nice.
Choices.
Everything went on well, Professor.
ஆமா ஆமா.
And we were able to manage the time also.
கரெக்டா முடிச்சிட்டீங்க.
ஆமா, Professor.
Keshav is known for it and he keeps up a time. பரவாயில்ல, அந்த ரூம்ல இருந்தே நீங்க டெலிகாஸ்ட் பண்றீங்க உங்க ரூம்ல இருந்து.
ஆமா, Professor. அங்கே எல்லாமே டெக்னாலஜி.
ஆ.
We are bringing digital visibility in PG Vaishnav.
Oh.
Even in the cabin too.
Very good, very good, very good. So students are sitting in the other conference hall, right? Yes,
Professor. Yeah, yeah. They are the people.
Okay, good, very good.